He's one of the people who's been tremendously helpful to us today. Joined us again now from Houston, Gene Cernan, the former Apollo astronaut, the last man to walk on the moon. Gene, you've seen the same tapes over and over again today. What do they tell you?
Well, Peter, you know, we can speculate, I guess, all day long, but it does appear that something, Lynn's ideas are certainly have potential, but it appears to me that whatever it was, it violated the integrity of that tank and allowed the liquid hydrogen and the liquid oxygen in some capacity to mix. And hydrogen is a tremendous explosive, and in this case we saw the results of what can happen when it's mixed with something like oxygen.
Well, Gene, let me offer, if I may, to you another theory, if I could get a look at this model here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but about a year ago the whole process was lightened up to some extent, and there was some suggestion today, at least by some people, that these struts, and Lynn has alluded to it, these things which basically hold the Challenger on to this enormous gas tank, which is really what it is, may have not been able to stand the stress. Do you buy that theory at all?
Well, of course, that's always possible, but you know, the vehicle was designed to go through that area we've talked so much about today called maximum dynamic pressure. That's when, if you will, the speed of the aircraft and the density of the air create the greatest wind on the spacecraft during its ascent. It's designed specifically as for that point being a high stress point, where you get the greatest shaking, the greatest bending of the skins, the greatest flapping of the wings, if you want to go to exaggeration. That's a very critical point. It appears that this either occurred just subsequent to that point. There may have been a rupture as a result of that through fatigue or for some other reason.
Gene, there has been the obvious question asked today about an escape mechanism in a space capsule or something on board the shuttle. There was one on Columbia some time ago. Why not on Challenger?
Well, you know, the Columbia's first 4 flights, I think the crew, it was only a 2-man crew. They did have ejection seats. It was a test vehicle. If we go into history of the space program, no other manned spacecraft has been flown for the first time with a man aboard. They were all flown unmanned until we got to the space shuttle. We built ejection seats in so that the crew was able to make some decisions at different points of the missions had they needed to, had they had some inkling of a problem that was forthcoming. We decided when we put 5 and 6 and 7 people on and the shuttle became more operational, proved its capability, its reliability, that not only was there no need for those ejection seats, in a case like this, for instance, they would not have even done any good. There was an escape mechanism, and that was the shuttle itself. If the crew, if the ground had some idea that there was a problem occurring, a critical problem, even a couple moments ahead of time, they could have jettisoned that external tank, jettisoned those solid rockets, and although the maneuver is very complicated and difficult, landed back at Kennedy Space Center.
Gene, I'd like to point out, and I know that you know this too, of course they have that capability. As you well know, nobody really ever wanted to try that. A return to the launch site abort, which is the technical name for it, that emergency landing back at the Cape, they say they were prepared for it. They didn't really ever want to try it. And just to add to what you were saying about the ejection seats, Peter, you're quite right. There were ejection seats on Columbia. There are no longer. It has been modified to match Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis. And as Gene points out, there were only 2 ejection seats, and now there's 5, 6, and 7 passengers.
Well, I think the point I'm trying to get at here, because it has been raised today, and let me get a fairly brief answer from you, if I may, Gene. Was this a shortcut because we were putting additional personnel on the shuttle, or is this a reflection of how good NASA felt about the safety of the program in general?
No, the program was designed to follow this plan of attack. It was designed as a test article and a test vehicle initially to have those ejection seats. Subsequent to that, it was designed not to have them, and that was the plan. This was not a shortcut. It was just a planned and a long-term operation of this vehicle. You know, if I might refer to something Lynn said, she's absolutely right. Nobody ever wanted to make that abort and come back to landing site. A very difficult maneuver for the best aviator in the world. But we confronted those things a lot in the past. My last launch was a night launch. If everything failed and we had to abort during the same phase of the mission and we had to get off the launch vehicle, at nighttime I had to use STAR to be able to orient the vehicle so that we could head in the right direction and not burn up coming into the atmosphere. That's something I didn't want to do, but it's something we practiced, and I think indeed I knew we could do it if we had to, and I believe that was the same in this particular case in every shuttle flight.
Gene, thank you very much for joining us. You've made a wonderful contribution today, and we're very grateful. It helped our understanding a lot. Gene Cernan, last man to set foot on the moon, one of the Apollo astronauts who has become, as we said at the beginning of this program, the nation's astronaut, one of those individuals who has been so touched.